Hey everyone, in this video, I want to show you some things we've been doing to our Astromech automation platform. In the last video, if you haven't been following along, I showed that you can create a script and basically push it to a Git repository and then hit it using API testing tools like Postman or Scalar or curl, anything like that, and just invoke the script. Um, I may have even demoed that if you send something in as the post body, basically that's provided to the script on standard input. And that's great, but we wanted to make it a little bit easier to especially test these scripts and truly encapsulate some of the things we've been talking about around automation and how it really becomes valuable around things like documentation and accessibility to other people. So we've been working on a simple UI for Astromech, and that's what I want to show you in this video today. So I'm going to switch over to the demo screen, and here is basically the UI. So here's the hello.py uh, script that I've been working with and demoing for a little bit. And you can see here's the URL that I was using to actually hit the script, invoke the script from effectively the web. Obviously, this is running on my local machine. This is a development build of Astromech. But you might notice that there are a few new things on the screen. And actually, I want to take a step back. So we've created a little homepage. Right now, there's nothing much here. It'll get a little bit more advanced as we go. But you can see here's a list of a couple scripts that I've built. And let's see if I can actually make that a little bit bigger. You can see my available scripts. And if I go into, let's start with hello.py, you can see, well, first of all, it says what script I'm looking at. And you can see some documentation around it. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about on this channel is that automation is really, really helpful once it's documented. So basically, anyone can understand why it's being used. You can understand why you wrote it in the first place and how to use it and that sort of thing. And here we can see it's just a sample Hello World script that also generates a GUID or a UUID. Uh, if you're familiar with the Markdown format, you might notice this that it is in the Markdown format. And that is true. We chose Markdown to make it as easy as possible to just write a text file and have it be the documentation. So the way that works is if I go over to my Git repository, and you can actually see that I'm here. Unfortunately, Warp puts my cursor all the way down at the bottom of the screen. So I'll uh, I'll run a command and then I'll actually show you what it was. So if I ls uh, in my Git repository, you can see I have a few different scripts, right? Echo.sh, hello.py, parse.ps1, but I also have these markdown files. So if I create a markdown file with the name of the script and then .md, that becomes the documentation. So if I uh, look at, say, hello.py.md, you can see, here we go. Here is that documentation that we saw on the UI, right? Same thing, hello.py and the little note. Now, you'll also notice that down at the bottom, there's a little request and response area. And this is basically a very stripped down version of Postman or Scalar or any other API testing tool that you have, right? In this case, we know the endpoint. We know exactly what we need to provide to it. So we can just basically present a box. And in this case, this is a very simple script. It doesn't actually need the box. There is no input to be provided. So I can just hit submit, and there we go. We have a UUID, and we have our little message, and it says that we're given a UUID v4, right? So let's look at something a little bit more involved. So let's go over to one of our other scripts, and let's look at echo.sh. And uh, as a reminder, this can run scripts in any language. So in fact, my hello.py is in fact a Python script. right? Apparently, I don't have syntax highlighting in Vim right now. Um, but it is a Python script that is running some Python code. If we look at echo.sh, we can see that it is in fact a bash script, right? And it's a very simple one. It's just going to echo whatever we provide on standard input uh, back to us, which means anything we put in that box will get back as well. Now, one of the reasons that we designed it this way is that you can actually set, you can actually write your scripts, you can test them locally, and because it's just standard input, you know they're going to work the same way in the cloud, right? So I just echoed a little string into standard input of echo.sh, and I got the same thing back, right? It does what we said it's supposed to do. And if we go over to the UI here, first of all, notice there's no documentation because we didn't provide any. But if we type something there, we also get that in the response. And if we type something else, like this is a test, and hit submit, well, there we go. We get this as a test back, right? Okay, great. No one is going to write an echo script in production. That's not very helpful. Maybe for testing, but you're going to write it once and call it good, right? Let's look at something a little bit more involved. Here's a PowerShell script that I wrote that parses a JSON input and lists out the keys. So let's start with that. Presumably, this takes a JSON input, so let's provide the simplest JSON input we can possibly have. Click submit, and guess what? There are no keys, so our response is empty. Let's do something a little bit more interesting and say name Bob. We should get name back, right? And there we go. We get name back. And let's do something even more interesting and give it an age. Give Bob an age. Let's make it valid JSON. We don't need that comment there. Hit submit. And our response is that we have an age key and a name key. Now, how did we implement that? Well, I said this was a PowerShell script. So is it? Is it really a PowerShell script? This is parse.ps1. Yes, sure enough, it is a PowerShell script, right? Even though I'm running on a Mac, my dev environment is a Mac, I'm still running a PowerShell script. And you can see this is a very simple PowerShell script. It might seem a little more sophisticated, but realistically, I didn't write all that much complex code here. We convert the input, the standard input, into JSON, and then we get a list of its keys. So unsurprisingly, it does what we said it did. And again, this is on my local machine, um, and you can see uh, that this is a Git repository. And basically, in order to, it's ahead of origin main by 4 commits because I actually do have a remote version. I've been pushing to my local version, my local repository. But all of the things that I've been doing, basically what I do is I make an edit and I commit and push to the repository, and then it shows up in this UI here. And if I added a new script, it would show up in this list as well, with the documentation, with the little snippet there to try it out. Um, and again, we're adding more to it as well to make this even more useful to especially non-technical users, right? This is very much a solution for technical users who already have a bunch of scripts, but realistically, the idea is to get the scripts into the hands of the people who needed to solve the problems in the first place, which may be your team. It may still be technical users, but we want to make this as accessible to everybody, right? So we cover documentation, we cover repeated reliability, consistency, those sorts of things, and accessibility. So stay tuned for more uh, additions to Astromech. If you're curious about this, want to see it on your environment, want to use it in your environment, let us know. There's links down in the video description for how to get in contact with us, and see a more in-depth demo and ask us questions about things. IT automation is something we're really passionate about. And as you might have noticed on our channel, we actually have a couple different solutions for IT automation, depending on where you're coming from and where you're starting your IT automation journey. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.